Hi everybody, I'm Apple. I've never done speedrunning before, and I decided I wanted to try this out just because I really love this little parkour map on Fortnite. It's a nice little breakaway from the game, and wanted to try my hand at it. Here at the beginning, it's just some quick introductory things of the electric bars can kill you and how to play with the spikes. Stamina is really hard to manage in this. So you'll see a couple times I try testing between if dying to get your stamina back or waiting is faster. Accidentally messed up and hit the electric bar here. So it's not the cleanest speedrun, but I haven't seen anybody else post anything on this yet. So I figured start with a poor baseline and then see how it grows from there. And here's where I'm trying to wait for my stamina to come back instead. That's where I tried seeing if resetting worked better. You gotta be careful when they're on the walls, not to back up, because if you do it all, then they can hit you. Noticed when you're doing the spikes, if they're on the wall, you can just put your shoulder on that yellow line and they'll pop out and it won't hurt you. I remembered this ceiling one, but you'll see later in the run, I definitely forget a few. And here's a nice little easy hallway of just the spikes go back and forth. Normally when it's on both walls like this, it's the same thing, put your shoulder in, just pop them both out. And here's where it starts introducing nice little jump platforms. You can play with those a little. And my favorite traps in here, because they're much easier, is the little arrow traps. The spikes are fun, but when they're on the ceiling, oof, it can get kind of difficult. Forgot about that spike trap down there, and after I'd waited for my stamina, I was kind of annoyed right here, just like, should have looked, I had the time. And then there's a spike trap on the ceiling right there. You'll see these little countdown clocks randomly during the match. They just always count down from 5 minutes. Because every 5 minutes, it just gives you a little XP boost. You'll see, notice the XP right here is actually really low, but it builds up over time. Towards the end, you're getting somewhere close to 1,000 each coin you pick up. And as you can see, they're really close together, so I also think this is just a great way to, like, if you're trying to get some battle pass levels, to level up right there. On the ground, when you have the stamina, I do normally try to jump them, but you can also, while you're waiting for your stamina to come back, just knock out a few of the spike traps. Felt like the beginning I was actually doing pretty decent, but you'll see later in the run, especially where I got frustrated in a few parts, I really slowed down a lot. In practice mode, the creator of the map was able to get, I think about 35 minutes is what they had. But they were cutting it up, so I don't know if it's all done in one run or what they were doing with it. I figured I'd just post this one as a solid single and start from there. I was really happy I got that on the first try, because this can be a little slippery. This one takes me a few tries to get. Because normally you can mantle on those little lips right there to get back up onto them, but not always. That time I just decided to skip it. Jump button sometimes messes up. The game's currently in a patch where it has some issues. So I think there's a few times I try to do this. It normally fixes if you stop and then you sprint jump. This is a nice little easy XP grab right here too. This hallway is just nice and smooth. Just jump from the little edges. You have to sprint jump these next two. You'll see I have to wait for my stamina again. Messed up the little down one. Stepped slightly too far into it. That one I got lucky because I thought I had jumped too far, so I thought I was dead there. Yeah, that first one, I didn't hit dead center, so it kind of bounced me around a little bit. Each time you see these little, I don't know what to call them, but these little jump pads, when they come through, they don't always act the same. Sometimes they do damage, sometimes they bounce you, sometimes they don't. I felt pretty bad right there because I've remembered even to look over to see if it was the drop, and then I stepped slightly too far and fell. So now here's where I'm checking to make sure there's no arrow trap. Remember the saline one here. Yeah, as you can see, I'm already 108 levels through, only 7 minutes in. I felt like I was doing pretty good for the pace that I was wanting. I was wanting to do this in around 30 minutes. As you can see from the length of the video, that didn't happen. That jump isn't always 100% when you jump through the 2 arrow traps right there, and then I was so happy I made that one that I forgot about the arrow trap on the ceiling right there. I thought I was going to respawn farther back, so I didn't realize I was up here at first. This one's funny because you have to activate this trap on the wall, because if you try to jump from the corner, you can't actually get far enough because you have to do that sprint jump. This one you normally have to do a little double jump, and thankfully I caught myself. And while I'm waiting on my stamina, I'm just trying to set off the arrow trap. Here you can generally ignore. You got to hit this one carefully just to get that angle to land in that corner. This one can be finicky. I was really surprised I got this one on the first try, saved it with that mantle, because normally that bounce throws you onto the spike trap. And so here, I think I got a little frustrated because the jump button isn't working. So I tried to mantle onto it that time to see if I could fix it. I normally knock this out no problem, but I was having some issues for some reason. It just wasn't getting close enough to the lip to mantle it. So I was getting impatient because I was like, oh, I can do this part, no problem. Really slowed myself down here on time. So I made sure to take a second and actually do it the way I normally do. Again, first time ever doing a speed run, so I was trying to force some things that I should have taken slow in the first place. Like right here, I get hit by that one instead of waiting. Then I just go straight up for it again. I was having trouble setting off the arrow trap, so got it to work that time. I like right here because these little walls actually help a lot, aside from the bottom one. Because now in each of these, you just put your shoulder into the wall, and they pop out, and you're all nice and safe. This one's on the roof. Then you get a double right here. These little walls are really finicky because a lot of times the jump button won't work when doing it. So trying to stop and then use a sprint jump is normally the best way to do it. Normally, if you get lucky, the jump button will work and you can fly across them. I'm gonna wait for my stamina to come back again. I actually sent a request to the maker of the map to see if he responds on asking him if he could add unlimited sprint to these. But you can see I forgot about that ceiling spike trap, and then I messed it up because I had the camera at the wrong angle. I messed up here on I forgot you're not supposed to sprint jump this first one. I do it again, but I back up a little farther to kind of compensate for it. I run out of sprint, so. And then I land it and overshoot because I thought I was going to be too short. So all that, and I waited for sprint for nothing. Right here, I just get lucky and get the double mantle. Get lucky again. While I was waiting on my sprint to come back, so I was able to sprint that one. These rings are kind of touchy, and you've really got to get just that little lip on the edge. It's possible to jump on both of these and just do that from each one. When they're on the wall facing you, I think this is the hardest trap to judge the distance, because you have to remember where the texture is on the wall that sets it off instead of being able to gauge off of the trap itself. This part's a lot of fun. I love doing this with my friends and showing them the whole impulse grenade section, because this one's actually surprising. Unless you've done it before, you don't realize you need two. And so you've got to jump up here and then over. But if you haven't done it before, you just pick up one again, you end up on that top edge. I've had issues with those spike traps dropping down. I've seen people do it by just running straight off the edge, but I normally have to jump and fall, and that seems to be the most consistent way to not get hit by the traps. This impulse grenade, there's actually a ceiling right above you, so you've got to be careful to get all the way over to the edge on that one. And I was hoping I was close enough to mantle there, but I wasn't. But I get the mantle that time. Now on these, there's arrows that will force you back if you touch them. So you've got to be careful to impulse grenade to just past them. And just in between them right here. That axe on the floor thankfully has this little ceiling catch that helps you out. And there's a couple hidden arrow traps right here. Slow you down a little bit. These, you have to use those little walls, because if you don't, it sends you too far through and it ends up killing you, except for this one right here is the correct distance. I didn't actually mean to step on that one. I meant to jump on it before, but I got lucky that it just worked out as the correct distance. Yeah, I saw the arrow trap, so I'm being careful on this one. Waiting for my stamina to come back so I can sprint jump to that edge. Now here really got to me, because I'm pretty sure on this part I hit this a few times of where I just can't jump when I get to this one right here. Jump button just isn't going off. I tried to do it a little slower. Same thing. Even though I hit the sprint that time. Sprint jump normally works when you're having jump issues, but that time it didn't. I tried again. Again, the same thing of the time pressure started getting to me. So it's like, oh no, I've done this, doing this too many times. This is really knocking down my score. So then I back up again, same thing. Really thought I gave it enough wait time there. That time I backed all the way up, but then I overshot because I wasn't expecting the jump button to work again. This is normally a really easy obstacle, but just for some reason, I was getting tilted right here just because the jump wasn't working, and then I wasn't having the greatest time. Yeah, this is the one I get it on. So now I'm worried because I'm like, oh, I've got a few more of these to do. I don't know if it's going to work. But thankfully, it seems like the mantle keeps resetting the jump on it. So we get into this little pyramid zone that I think is funny. I kind of like how they added a little different to it. But I know it doesn't actually increase the difficulty all that much. Because the same thing, just get to the wall farthest away. Now you can actually make this jump without using these, but because I was having so many issues earlier, I was kind of wary of doing it. Completely forgot about the spike trap on the roof right there. And then I was still a little impatient from earlier. Calm down a bit here because this is one of my favorite parts of the map. I actually wish that was taller just because it's a really fun thing to add into it. Now, I've never been hit by this arrow trap before, but I decided this time, just because I was having so many issues, to go ahead and set that off. Just save myself the trouble. I couldn't remember if there was one on the floor right there, that's why I moved over to the edge. Then it's just carefully putting your shoulder out and setting each of them off. Kind of walking through these, trying to let your stamina to build up. Forgot about that roof one again, because I was staring at the stamina bar. I was like, ooh, I can almost do it again. But now with the roof ones, when the pyramids are there, it's actually really easy because you just barely put your foot on the pyramid edge and sets it off. Here, while you've got the stamina, I feel like it's just faster to jump those than set them off. I was actually really worried right there because I thought I had stepped too high. This jump's actually really tricky on, so you have to have full stamina, but you have to be careful to jump early because if you jump all the way late, you'll overjump that, just like that. Thankfully though, I hit the revive button, or the checkpoint, so I was able to hop over. These jumps are kind of annoying because you can't sprint jump over those angles because of the little, how the roof is low right there. You'll hit the roof and it'll drop you straight onto them. You can sprint jump from inside them though, which makes this jump possible. Here I'm still being a little impatient, so I don't even wait for my stamina all the way. And I think, okay, well, while I'm waiting my stamina, I'll just do these traps manually. And back to a couple simple things. It seems like every now and then it gives you a break after a couple hard stuff to just give you some XP, make it worth the time that you're putting into the other, like, more difficult sections, which I really like. It feels like a nice little break, especially when you're introducing somebody to it for the first time. It's not just difficult thing after difficult thing, really making them like give up on it. I've introduced this to a few people and a lot of people have a lot of fun. This creator has actually made several other maps that you'll see at the end that of all different lengths. This is the longest one, I believe, but I actually really like this one, so I wanted to do a run of this one first. Here I'm trying to set off the spikes before doing the thing, and I mess it up twice, so I just give up. Now you can do it when it hits the entire top, or you can do it all the way at the bottom. For these two though, you've got to wait for as soon as they spawn and sprint at an angle. So even though my stamina is back, I still had to wait for the phase to come through. This one is actually deceptively slightly longer than the other one. So it's a little harder. Then again, no stamina, so I just decided to do it manually. Here it gets fun because you got to start doing the jumps at an angle, and then the pinballs are back. This time they don't bounce if you jump on top of them, but if you hit the sides, they do damage and kill you. I think even the top does damage actually in that section. And this one has a roof one on it too, so I've noticed the wall ones are actually a little more sensitive when there's a roof one on it. The roof is the most sensitive and the floor is the least sensitive. Because when they're on the walls like this, it's shoulder all the way to the yellow bar. When it's on the ceiling, it's like somewhere near it, but not all the way to it. But when it's on the floor, you have to step like all the way into it. That one on the floor right there I always thought was funny because I've never even set it off before. And then here, I didn't sprint jump. I just totally forgot that I had needed to do that part. Here I was looking at it and I was like, okay, I'm on level almost 300 and I'm 20 minutes in. I'm picking back up like I need to. And so you can sprint jump those gaps too, but I didn't want to waste the stamina because I knew I needed it right here. I had forgot about that arrow trap. I got lucky, so I jumped on the side here just in case there was another one. Same thing here. Couldn't remember if there was one on the roof, but instead of taking time to look, I was like, I'll just jump from the side. Use my last bit of stamina, and while waiting on it, since I don't have to sprint jump right there, I'll just use that. I didn't mean to do the slide, but I like the slide right there because it just adds like a little bit of speed. So this one, you got to set that off. Now I have seen somebody just sprint and slide through this without getting hit. However, it seems really inconsistent for me, so I always just set them both off individually. I was tapping jump right there, but it didn't jump again for some reason. That little arrow trap, because the coin's right here in view, got me the first couple times because I forgot about it. This, you can sometimes make that jump and crouch in time. I didn't get it though, so this time I was just like, yeah, whatever, and decided to just put my shoulder out. This one you can sometimes jump over that corner, but I didn't have stamina at the moment, so I figured I might as well set it off anyway. This one's a lot easier because you just step in the corner twice. Then it's back to these, just jump out at angles, but you need sprint for all of them, so a lot of time here. I was going back to thinking again, and I was like, is it faster to respawn? Is it faster to jump? Or is it faster to wait? Wasn't sure, so I just decided to wait because it seems like normally, like while the respawn timer starts, your stamina starts regenerating. Thought I might be able to jump past that because you can sometimes, but wasn't able to there, so just decided to set it off before doing it the second time. Here's kind of funny. I normally don't get hit by it, but again, I'm pressing for time. Didn't wait for my stamina. And now, I normally try to do it as soon as I see it, I try to go forward Because if you wait until it's at you, you normally are a little too late. So here I'm just waiting for stamina again. The squares are normally a bit easier because they actually have a straight line to get onto. So I actually like this portion. It's a nice little break. And you've got whole giant platforms. But they're just practice for what's to come. So I really like how they just do all these nice little introductions of, okay, so here's what it's like to jump on these. Here's a big circle out in the middle. Gotta wait for your stamina again. And as you can see up next to that coin already, now those little side platforms are empty. So you gotta be real careful. Get a nice little, on that curve, kind of line up with a straight line of it. You can get a little jump off. You can sometimes, if you land in the ring, mantle and catch up onto it, but it's not very consistent. I figured I'd just wait for my stamina right here. That one, I just messed up the jump. That one, yeah. Panic jumped. Thought I had missed it. So I was trying to mantle up, but didn't actually miss it. So then I get frustrated and I just decide to jump all the way across. These rings, when they're really close, are actually really simple. Even this bigger gap, it's just a small sprint jump and tap jump. Here I'm trying to check if there's any other like any other arrow traps or something that might hit me. This I was really surprised because I don't normally actually mess that up, but I think I was trying a little too hard under the time pressure and just lost a little bit of focus. See, that time I jumped over it instead. This one, I forgot, you got to be careful right there, but I got lucky and was able to mantle. This part I like, it's got a hidden jump pad at the top, so if you try to just use that bottom one, you don't go far enough. First time I did it, it took me a few tries of trying to figure out, like, why can't I make it? And I turned around one time and I saw it up on the wall. This part, those spike traps are so annoying, and you got to either try to make it without it, without having like the space, or you've got to give up and just try to set it off so you can get a little sprint jump in. Now these little sidewall spike traps are in each one. That one's actually a cross, so you've got to jump really close to the wall. I didn't even mean to set it off there. I had actually just jumped too far. I think okay. Now it's the same thing. You want to go over to these little edges. Because if you do hit jump before, it sends you super high. This always seems really inconsistent for me for how far you go. Normally if you get that double jump on it, it sends you far enough. I figured out, I think during this one, if you sprint into it, you go a little farther. And that seemed to work quite a bit better. I was like, all right, 2 in a row. This is working out good. And it worked out perfect. So I think sprinting is like the way to go for that. It's possible to do without the sprinting, so you don't have to wait for stamina, but it just, as you can see, turned out to be a lot more consistent if you had a sprint jump to it. And then same thing, just back to simple stuff for a quick breather. Now I'm looking at it going, oh my gosh, I'm already at 30 minutes. I'm only at 360. I actually have 100 levels to go still because I do the bonus levels at the end. I forgot that this trap actually doesn't work. That's not me glitching or anything. I forgot that there's just, for some reason, there's that one trap where it doesn't work. For some reason, I was tapping mantle right there and it just didn't mantle. So got lucky that time, didn't hit it. The ice here has never messed with me. I guess it's for if you're trying to set off the trap instead. Here, you normally wait till the wall goes out. I ignore that first pillar and just jump on top of that one. We're back to these again. This time there's no bounce if you land on the top. And so it's generally easier to just jump past it. Just trying to save a little bit of stamina though for this jump, so that's why I did that one. Now these, instead of sending you forward, actually slow you down. So that was kind of funny, so. Makes the spike traps a little bit harder because you've got to be more accurate with it since you can't step back as quickly. I'm just checking the ceiling right there to make sure there wasn't anything. So this is the one I'm the most nervous about while slowed because you got to be really delicate. I was able to get that off pretty quickly. Not normally. Normally that takes me a bit, so. This part's just a nice little easy section again, though. As you can see, it's a lot bigger than the stuff that's normally there. This one is a nice little surprise for you around this corner. And you've got to set it off quickly before the other one behind you goes off. Don't know why I didn't go far enough there. Normally when you jump, it seems to be consistent on pushing you. So that time I sprint jumped just to make sure because I knew there was that wall to catch me. So. This one, I was just decided I wanted to wait for stamina even though I didn't need to. Because again, same thing, I could have jumped that. But I knew this little wall was coming and they can, again, same thing, they can be a little inconsistent. Let's see, if you get that jump like that, you can sometimes just go across all three of these instantly by getting that little jump. But because I knew I was so far behind on time, I figured I'd go for the careful thing instead. This one's funny. I actually just like the little inclusion of that because it's just a circle on its side, just being different. It's the only time it's in here, and it's not too difficult, but it's just nice for a little change of pace. Then you're like, yes, full pillars. And this is all the way up at 400, so difficulty. This is, I think, the last break before the difficulty starts to pick up. I know the last few levels are where it gets difficult again, but right here is just nice, easy. This is actually the hardest one of these because you've got to set it off from across from it, so it's harder to line up your shoulder. Then you can just skip that ring entirely if you want because it's a short enough jump, but I'm just going through the motions at this point, trying to pick up speed a little bit, but trying to be careful at the same time because I already know that I'm past the time that I wanted this to take. This is my favorite part of the whole thing because you just sprint through all these spike traps. You got to be really careful not to get caught on that wall right there because if you hit that last little edge, you'll get caught by the spikes. Then here I set that off, but then I don't know why I sprint jumped when I knew the ceiling was low. Again, even though I know I'm past the time, I'm like, I'm right here at the end. I just gotta go. I gotta go. I'm putting too much pressure on myself. So this one, you gotta sprint jump though. And back to arrow traps. Nice, easy little break. So there's actually a spike trap on this wall right behind me right here. I turned to look at it to show. And this one's kind of difficult. You gotta be careful when you land and careful how you set that up. So there's one on the ceiling and the floor. You have to set them off separately. So you just have to be quick about it so they don't hit you. And it's the same thing. I actually loathe these backwards arrows. Their hitboxes are deceptively large, so especially with those spike traps on the wall, you're trying to be careful not to hit the box, but then you're being careful not to hit the spike traps. This one, I got very lucky right there because I didn't mean to hit that wall. I realized there's a spike trap right there, and so I just decided to come back and set this one off because it's going to be a lot easier. Same thing, little hop before coming down. Now, I can't tell you how many times that arrow trap has got me right there because I always forget about it. Especially that one afterwards, because then you're like, oh. I always skip that bottom one down there and just use these and mantle up them. Let's just set off the traps, do the jump, let that one off. You got a double jump right here so that you don't stay on the trap when it sets off. Out of stamina, so I'm just trying to rush through these. That's me checking, making sure I was at this full arrow trap one. This is one of the last levels, and it's actually really hard because you got to be able to set all the traps off before they reset. And then as you can see, when you jump up there, there's already another one, so you've got to set that one off first to be up here. So now it's just a matter of not getting hit by that. Jump over, and then throws you to the end. But now, if you move over to the left over here, this part has the little bonus levels. You can see now the coins are 674 apiece. And the floor doesn't kill you anymore. So, since the floor isn't lava, you can just drop down. I'm being a little overly cautious here, even though I'm just kind of unwinding, staring at the time, checking the time, thinking about all the places I messed up and going, okay, I can definitely do this run again sometime, knock this time down quite a bit. This is a nice little, I think, unwind at the end of it that just gives a bunch of experience. Actually even messed the jump up right there. If you saw, it started to mantle, but it just glitched out. And so, hop up. There we go. 4019. Start to do a little celebration, and then I realized, oh, I want to credit the creator of this map. Again, he's got several more of these. all different links. I feel like they're a great way if you're trying to get into the game to get used to the movement. He's got some escape rooms too and some other kind of puzzle things. Much appreciated. Thank you, Jalf. And I highly encourage anybody who's even half interested in this, try out these levels because it's a lot of fun.